of Uselessness. I'm Devin.
I'm Dan.
And today we're talking about Season 3 of the Umbrella Academy. Ooh. Spooky noises.
It is definitely spooky. Definitely spooky.
But before we get into that, and before we get into things we like, I just wanted to say hi to Gord, because I ran into him, and he said he listens to the show. I knew him from before, so it's not like a rando just walked up and was like, "Are you Tome of Uselessness?"
That'd be incredible if that did happen.
Yeah, they just recognized my voice, and they're like, "Where's Dan?" No, but I didn't realize that my friend Gord had been listening, so hi, Gord. That's it.
Hello.
So Dan, did you like anything since we last recorded, which was, I think, 5,000 years ago?
It's been a while. There's been many things. I guess I'll just start with a couple TV shows. So I watched the Obi-Wan series.
Oh, how was it?
I really liked it, but it was funny because it was 6 episodes, I think. But it's like it could have been either cut down or expanded. Like the story that they told, it probably could have been in like 4 episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and but I really liked. I like Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan, and I liked it. It was enjoyable enough, and it was good fun. And the only thing that's funny is it kind of solidified my way back in the day theory that, especially at the end of episode 3, how they screwed up by putting Anakin into the Vader suit right away. Because my idea was always like, especially when you hear, again, this is Star Wars, when you hear about the Clone Wars and how Vader hunted down and murdered the Jedi, I always pictured that would be like, that's episode 3. And as Anakin hunts down all the Jedi, he gets more and more wounded by each Jedi he fights, and then eventually becomes more machine.
Oh, that would have been really cool.
Yeah, because in this series, he confronts Obi-Wan and Vader fight a couple times, and he's just full Vader, and it's like, it's cool. And then, there's a little bit of Hayden Christensen reveal at like a couple points, but like, then it would have been cool to see him more still messed up and scarred and etc. But anyway, that's just Dan headcanon stuff or whatever. But I liked it.
That's cool. What's his name? Ewan McGregor also has like a Netflix series that came out during the pandemic about Halston, the fashion designer in the 70s, and I was like, I should watch that, and then we could do an episode where you talk about Obi-Wan, but I talk about that show instead.
Oh yeah, nice. I always wanted to watch, I never watched like the full series of it, but I watched episodes here and there. It was the show with like him and his brother, I think I want to say, when they drove motorcycles around the world. I forget the name of the show, but that was cool.
I like his PayPal, or was it PayPal or Visa or something commercials?
I haven't seen those, sorry.
Yeah, he's like, you won't regret the things you didn't buy, you'll regret the things you didn't. Maybe it's Expedia.
Right, like a travel thing.
Yeah. Who knows?
Sure. And then the next show, Westworld, season 4 came and went in the time since we've recorded. I enjoyed it again. I've been enjoying Westworld. It's still, of course, like the season 1 was like the objective pinnacle high. But what I was pretty curious about was coming to the end of this was because I think I saw a thing from the showrunners where like, oh, we have the ideas for like a 5th season. If we do a 5th season, it'll be like done kind of thing. But then now there's some weird shakeup with HBO because of the merger that's going on. So I don't think it's been even announced that there's going to be season 5.
Oh, bummer.
Yeah, but it's because it ended, but not really kind of a thing.
I don't know. I think it could have ended after season 1. But
sure.
Season 1 was so perfect, right? But I've only seen the first 2 seasons. I haven't seen 3 or 4 yet.
Yeah, no, I liked 4. It was interesting because like Ed Harris is in it again, and he's so good, but he's also like, Ed Harris is quite an old man that I was just like, I'm surprised he's still doing this show, but I guess he's just like, whatever, I'll just do it.
Paycheck.
I guess, yeah, like, but I don't know if he's just semi-retired or he's just doing this, but him and Tessa Thompson and Evan Rachel Wood was, of course, in there. Jeffrey Wright. So it was pretty cool. I liked some of the stuff. I felt, again, because of all the sci-fi I've ever absorbed in life, that some of it was like obvious where it was going or how it was going to happen, but it was still enjoyable.
Fair enough.
There was only one thing that was a little off to me, was minor spoilers here. Stubbs is like there's like a time jump between season 3 and 4. And then at one point, someone's like explaining giving some exposition to Stubbs, and he he's just a man. And I was like, he's lived in this world for this time jump. He would know this, right?
Who is Stubbs?
That was the Hemsworth. He was the security guard.
Gotcha.
Yeah, he was a security guy. But anyway, I thought that was kind of funny. I was like, he would know these things. He's lived here this whole time.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, and like, again, unless they were trying to like, there was no reveal. It was like, oh, he's like a clone or whatever, which is, a possibility. But anyway, I liked it. Again, it was only 8 episodes, unfortunately. It's funny because like for something like Westworld, I'm like, no, give me 10 because I just want like more Westworld.
Just make it better, more.
But anyway, it was it was good stuff. But curious to see what's going to happen there. And then I read a bunch of books. I'll just mention a few. So I read Leviathan Falls, which is the last book of the Expanse series, which starts with Leviathan Wakes, I think is the first book. It was good. It wrapped it up, and it was kind of an interesting way. The only thing I kind of didn't like about the series, this last book, and I think the book before it especially, was that like my favorite part about the Expanse is how humanity finds this alien tech and how we just from like a dead civilization and how we just screw it up, right? Like we use it for weapons and we screw it all up, right?
Yeah.
And the show is about the politics and the people and how we screw it up and etc. That's the stuff I like about the series. And in this last book, there's still a bit of that, but now there actually is an outside alien threat that's threatening humanity and going to wipe us all out. And so, they got to deal with that situation. And I was like, yeah, this is cool, but I liked the other stuff a lot better.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like where it was like I said, it was like alien tech from a dead alien civilization. But anyway, it was kind of neat. And I didn't realize that there were I just stumbled on it. I was like browsing books and I was like, wait, there's another Expanse book? So yeah, it was a good finish up. I do recommend the whole series if you're looking for some sci-fi reading with some space, because it's a little more of that kind of Blade Runner universe where, they go into space, but it's still run by corporations. You got to pay for your air and it sucks, right?
For your air or for your hair?
For your air and your water.
Oh. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that would suck.
Yeah. So it's like, yeah, there's still
for your hair now, Dan. Not all of us can just shave our heads.
Yeah, and then I felt like revisiting a series. Oh, that's all right. Unfortunately, you cut out, so I didn't hear what you said.
Oh, I was saying if it was hair, not all of us can just shave our heads. Most of us have to pay for our hair.
I see what you're saying. Sorry. Yes.
Yeah. Not all of us are hair privileged like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. Continue, please.
And yeah, I just felt like revisiting this old fantasy series I had read a long time ago. And so that's the Malazan Book of the Fallen. And in the time we've recorded to now, I've read the first 3 books of the series.
Nice.
Which is Gardens of the Moon, Dead House Gates, and Memories of Ice. Yeah, it's really good. It's kind of I think the author kind of describes it, and I think I agree, where it's like you'll either like it or hate it, essentially, because it really drops you into the middle of this big situation, and it mostly focuses on like soldiers and like them existing in this fantasy world where, magic can just tear apart a mountain, and they're like, but we got our spears, right?
Nice.
Yeah, it's just like, again, it's like mortals in this bigger universe, and they just got to do their job. So anyway, I enjoy the series. It's kind of daunting though, because I think there's 10 books in the main line, and they're not small. They're like 800-page average count. So,
Oh wow, you've been busy.
yeah, well, they're really good. So yeah, really enjoying them, and especially I think because this is my second read through, so a lot of like the races or words and like the made up fantasy stuff to like portray whatever, like I get it, rather than the first time you go through you're just like, wait, what are they talking about here? Right? Because made up fantasy words.
So I am experiencing something similar with the book I'm reading right now. There's so many people they mention that I'm just like, who the fuck is this character? Who's Tim? Who the fuck is Tim?
Am I supposed to know Tim? Did they mention him before?
It's not fantasy or sci-fi or anything. I'm just like, fucking Tim and Allison and Jaden, and who are these people that they keep talking about?
Well, so, and these books, like if you have a physical copy of the book, they do have at the beginning and the end, like the end has a glossary and the beginning has like the dramatis personnel, like where it actually has like the lists of all the characters and stuff like that. But I'm reading it on e-format, so it's just like, I've just got to go. Right.
Gotta like power through and use context clues.
Yeah, basically. Because you will, like you said, there will be a jump sometimes and you're like, wait, who's that guy they're talking about? Because it was mentioned in like chapter 2 and you're in chapter 10 now and you're like, wait, Who is this?
So many characters, I can't keep up. I'm too dumb.
Yeah. I don't know, but like I said, this is a great series. I would highly recommend it. Canadian author as well.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, Stephen Erickson is his name. I think that's all the stuff I'll talk about. Other things on the go. But what about yourself, Devin? Anything you want to highlight?
Well, let's see. First of all, I bought the cottage expansion for Sims 4, so I've been playing a lot of cottage core Sims because you can have a cow and chickens.
Is that why I've been seeing some stuff popping up about The Sims? Like this expansion just came out?
No, I think it's been out for a while.
Oh, okay, fair enough. No, I guess there's always just people playing.
I also bought the game pack that has the ghosts in it, so now I can have ghosts.
When you drown your Sims.
I don't drown my Sims. I just make them miserable. But no, it's because that pack came with a bunch of 70s outfits, and I thought, that's fun.
Nice.
Let's see, what else? I watched season 2 of Only Murders in the Building, the Selena Gomez / Steve Martin / what's Steve Martin's little buddy's name again?
Martin Short?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Wait, there's 2 seasons of this?
Yeah, the second season just came out.
Oh, wow.
And it looks like they will have a 3rd season. It was, this show, I don't know why I keep watching it, because the mystery aspect is never very satisfying. I feel like they're more interested in fooling the audience than creating a mystery that makes sense.
Right.
But that being said, I really like the set design. I really like the costumes, and I find Selena Gomez to be very endearing. So that's kind of what powers me through it.
Fair enough.
But yeah, the ending's disappointing. I've been watching She-Hulk, and I won't say too much about it because we may or may not do an episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I like it. I don't really understand why it's getting hate online. I also started watching Rings of Power. Again, we'll probably do an episode. I really like the costumes, and I really like the set design, but I do have some issues with it.
Nice.
I read the 2nd volume of the Lore Olympus compilation of webcomic thing, and which is about Hades and Persephone. And it's a very cool art style, and I'm enjoying it so far, but I am aware that it's like a week-to-week webcomic, so there's a lot of cliffhangers that kind of get resolved very quickly, because it's like you want people to keep tuning in, I guess.
Sure.
You know how serialized fiction can get that way when you watch a bunch of it in a row, that it's it feels a bit like, oh, okay, we're just going to do this again every time. All right, cool.
I mean, that's obviously something about the Umbrella Academy as well.
Yeah. Ugh. And then finally, because I'm in an English class right now where we are covering satire, I read Jonathan Swift's A Modest Proposal for the first time. And have you read it?
I have not.
It is it's like satire, and it's very punchy, but I also found it very funny. I was listening to somebody read it as I was reading along with it, like on YouTube. Tony overheard and was not familiar with it and didn't realize that it was satire and got very concerned because A Modest Proposal is about solving during the Restoration, there was a lot of starving Irish people, and his proposal is that they should sell their toddlers as a food source for the wealthy.
Right.
Which seems very like he goes about it in a very straightforward manner, and it's very funny and very like cutting, and like it's like just well done satire. But if you're not aware that that's what's going on, then like Tony, you would probably just think that I'm a sociopath.
Yeah. This obviously makes perfect sense.
Yeah. But yeah, I enjoyed it, and it's in like it's not written in oldie-timey English. It's really easy to understand, and there's recordings of people reading it on YouTube. It's about 16 minutes long, and it's very funny. If you want to listen to it, you should listen to it. The end.
Sweet.
Yeah. Now let's get into the Academy of Umbrellas.
Well, or the Sparrow Academy. Dun dun dun.
Yeah. So Dan, before we get into it, what was your top level thoughts about it?
I guess like I liked it. It was obviously interesting because of course it was filmed during a challenging time with COVID and everything like that, right? So you could see that the scale was really ramped down because it takes place in one building mostly. And
oh, that's a good point. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, it takes place in like a one building with no one around for the most part. It was just weird because, again, and this was something like I was kind of saying where it was like it seemed too drawn out in other parts and then too quick in other areas. And then I was even unsure if there was going to be a fourth season until you told me that it was confirmed, because I was kind of like, oh, it ended and could have just ended.
It should have just ended.
I mean, yeah, it could have definitely just ended right there.
Yeah, should have. Should have.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, what about yourself?
I watched it a while ago, and I did try to rewatch it to refresh myself for the recording of this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I found myself not wanting to go through the tedium of watching it again. I don't know. It feels okay. Umbrella Academy to me feels like a beautifully wrapped present that is empty inside. It feels like Netflix is producing content for the sake of producing content, which I get it, that's a business model, but it doesn't, we can just have stuff that's entertaining, that's fine, but it just doesn't feel like anything to me. I don't know. It just feels so empty. Like there's nothing that I can like pinpoint as being like, oh, this is particularly bad writing or bad set design or bad costumes or bad effects or bad acting or bad characters. Like it's fine. I've seen worse of all of that. I just don't care. I just don't at all about any of the characters. The reaction online made me sad for humanity. I don't know what else to say beyond that. I just, do you know what I mean?
Well, yes and no. I mean, like I said, like I felt to me that there was some weird writing choices.
Oh yeah, there is definitely some weird choices, but I didn't think it was particularly like bad writing. Like, you know, it's not like anything written by Dan Brown. I don't know. I like okay, just for an example. Every day I think about Alex Garland's Men.
I was literally going to ask you if you had any thoughts about Men. As a joke.
Every single day I think about that movie. And I think about like scenes in that movie, and like I wonder like what is Alex Garland trying to say at the end of that movie, and I think about like how beautifully it was shot, and like how sometimes I'm like I wish he would just tell me what he meant, and then other times I'm like I just really enjoyed the journey of that movie and the like visceral response that I am continuing to have from it. And then I think about Umbrella Academy, and it just makes me want to like go to sleep, not out of boredom, just so that I don't have to think about Umbrella Academy.
You're like, it's just not worth it.
We're just like,
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know if I would say that, like, Men is one of my favorite movies, or if I'd even be interested in watching it again, but I do think about it every day, and I bring it up in conversation a lot, as you know. It absolutely, like, intrigues, and, like, and just, it, you know, but Umbrella Academy just makes me be like, why do we still make art? There's no point.
It's become too commercial.
Yeah, or it's just like we're just living in a constant factory of content that needs to be produced at any cost.
Yeah, and I mean you're not wrong about that. Like when you look at like, you know, what Disney is trying to do, and of course what Amazon is trying to do, they're all just trying to like pump out content, and definitely some quality slips through the cracks.
Yeah, and it just makes me want to lie face down on the floor. Like I'm not saying like if Umbrella Academy is your favorite show and you enjoy it and like it changed your life and it's hot, like it makes you happy, that's great. Just keep doing that. My opinion does not affect those people. But at the same time, I'm just like, I don't know why I'm having that response to the show, but that's just, yeah, I just feel tired. I don't know if it was like that combined with like not really enjoying Thor Love and Thunder and being disappointed by Multiverse of Madness. You know, like I don't know if that's part of it, but man, this show makes me feel like creativity is dead and we should all lay down and die. So yeah, it's okay.
I almost feel like you're having the same reaction I had to a Solo story there.
Yeah, similar vibes. It's just like Solo story and season 3 specifically of Umbrella Academy makes me feel like there's no soul to this
machine.
Property. Yeah. It's not coming from like somebody's desire to tell a story in a specific way, but it's coming from like focus groups and board meetings.
Yeah, and that's always an unfortunate area when it comes to bigger properties and stuff like that, where it's like, yeah, you got to plug in these numbers or these elements, otherwise, you know, it won't be a 4-quadrant thing and people won't like it. And then, you know, you have an actor change, and so it's controversial.
Yeah. Yeah. But then you watch something like Men and you're like, well, there's nobody remotely corporate involved in this.
Yep. And it's funny because I watched Sunshine the other day, which he wrote as well.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
Good movie. Yeah, good movie.
I haven't seen it. My dad really liked it, though.
Yeah, it's a good movie. It's kind of weird because it's like it has a a big sci-fi premise and it's like people in space doing this thing and then it kind of turns horror schlocky, but then also like still pretty intense and it's straight up his alley.
Nice, nice.
Yeah. But yeah, like you said, it's like, and I know that movie wasn't successful when it came out, unfortunately, because it's directed by Danny Boyle as well.
Who's that?
It's the guy. Didn't he make like Baby Driver and? Or was that Edgar Wright?
Directed Baby Driver.
Sorry, that's Edgar Wright. Danny Boyle's directed other stuff. I just can't remember off the top of my head.
I didn't like Baby Driver.
Well, I think I remember you were saying the first half was excellent.
Yeah, but the overall it was kind of like meh.
Yeah. Well, let's get back to the show here. And
no, I don't want to. You can't make me.
Yeah, well, like I said, it was just weird because it's like, okay, they introduce, the second family, and I was like, oh, that's kind of a neat idea. He adopted different kids because he didn't like the way, the Umbrella Academy turned out, right? Mm-hmm. And then, like you said, how there's the TikTok dance number.
Oh my God. Like people on TikTok just keep doing that, hey? They just keep...
Really?
Yeah, and they just like... I mean, it got nowhere near the Kate Bush running up that hill popularity of Stranger Things, but I feel like it's lazy writing or lazy filmmaking to just put like a catchy song over top of something. Okay, sorry, keep going.
No, I was just saying because like I thought it was just kind of funny because it's Diego's like fantasy and it's like a united family, which I was like, oh, that would be totally what he wants. And I liked that. But then this is where I was saying where it seems super rushed because it's like now we have our, what is it? 10 characters? No, there's 7 of them, right? So it's like there's 14 of them, but then like they just get picked off and get killed like immediately, like a whole bunch of them, right?
Yeah, I mean like, so I did rewatch the first episode. I did enjoy like the chaotic casualness of that first fight that comes right after the dance number.
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of fun. It's fun to have somebody like getting like thrown around by a tentacle in the background while somebody else is getting punched in the foreground. I'm like, yeah, that's cool. Mm-hmm. And then maybe if those characters had been better developed, I don't know if I would have been more on board, but like they just get knocked off right away. Yeah,
no, exactly.
Like there's a cube. A character is a cube that people seem to understand, but the audience doesn't. That sounds really cool and interesting. Oh, he's dead.
Well, that happens later when they try to contain the Kugelblitz in him.
Yeah, sorry, Meatball wants in. Hi, Meatball. Okay. Yeah, but it's just like, everybody just goes away immediately.
Yeah. Well, and I did like that with the Kugelblitz and how the Sparrow #1 is like just gets immediately killed from it, and then that kind of spirals everything out of control because Victor's trying to make a deal with him, and then blah blah blah, and there's too much convoluted like we're gonna make a deal, but then they're always like lying about one aspect of the deal, like both sides, the entire season.
Yeah.
Until essentially like the wedding episode.
Yeah. See, there was a lot of complaint about the wedding episode online, but that was one of the ones I enjoyed.
Like I said, I think when we were talking a bit about it before, that it was weird to do, but it also kind of like it was just neat. It was a good break, but I think it was again maybe because of the pacing of the season that it just seemed so like everything was so breakneck, and then it's like okay, this huge stop, like everything halts for that episode.
Yeah, the pacing was so weird. Mm-hmm. Also, I really want to quickly address the Vanya Victor thing.
Sure.
The actor Elliot Page, formerly known as Ellen Page, came out as trans, and they made Vanya trans in the show. I thought they handled it well, and it was only like, Victor gets the haircut and then tells his brothers that it's Victor now, and then I think Luther wants to throw Victor a party at one point to make sure he knows that he's supported.
Yeah.
And he makes Victor his best man. And that is the only... I don't think they even use the word trans in it.
I don't think so either.
But there was a huge backlash online, and a lot of the negative reviews are like, oh, they're just exploiting the transness. Everything has to be woke now. And I'm just like, oh my God. Even like Gerard Way, the writer of the comic, thought it was a good idea.
Well, and I thought it was handled well.
That's what I thought too. It didn't really change Vanya Victor's character at all.
No.
It's pretty much the same, but with shorter hair. Like even the wardrobe was the same.
Yeah, well, and Victor even says it was just like, oh, my experience with Sissy made me realize who I was, and it's like, okay, yeah, done, right? Like.
Yeah, I thought it was handled really well, tastefully. They didn't shove it in your face, despite what the internet says.
Well, and my favorite part about it was, like you said, when Luther wants to do the party, and then Diego just says to Victor, is like, hey, Luther wants to throw you a party so you feel supported. And it's like, oh, that's kind of nice. And it's like, do you feel supported? It's like, yeah. And it's like, done. No party necessary.
Yeah, I liked that too. It was good. I think that what a lot of people, like if you haven't experienced, if you're not queer, you don't really understand the uncertainty of how people will react if you let them know you are queer, like even if you come out as like bi or gay or trans or whatever. And it's nice to have media that shows people just being accepting of it instead of it having to be like a big dramatic, like, get out of my house, I never want to see you again, or whatever, right? Like it's nice to just have that as an option in your brain so that if you're like 12 years old and watching this and you're like, oh, I think I might be non-binary, you have the courage to reach out and get support from your family. Because even if you have the best family in the world, if the only representation you see is people getting mad about it, it makes it a very stressful situation. So yeah, that's my rant, sorry.
No.
I think it's important to show that. So yeah, I liked that. I liked that they were just supportive and nobody really makes a big deal about it.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't change a person, it just makes them more comfortable in their body.
Yeah.
The end.
Fair enough. Talking about the Victor thing, is this kind of felt to me where no shade on the actress. I thought she did a great job at everything, but everything they wrote for Allison made no sense the whole season.
I know, they made her so weird this season, hey?
Yeah. And because like there was a few times where Allison's like, or Victor and Allison, they're like confronting each other and like Allison's listing all the stuff. And I was like, are you kidding me here, lady? You locked their powers away and lied to them their entire life. Yeah. And like now you're trying to be all moral high ground. I was like, get out of here.
You know what? It could have been interesting, and I understand probably why they didn't do it based on people's reaction to Victor. But you know what would have been interesting? If Allison had felt betrayed that Vanya came out as Victor because they were the only, like, prior to that, they were the only two women in the family. And, like, maybe Allison felt alone because of that. Like, and like, felt like, Victor was excluding her by hanging out with the boys more or something like that. That would have been an interesting angle.
Right.
But instead, we got Allison just being the most unreasonable person ever. They get it. She was traumatized. And I guess she was acting irrationally, but like the weird moral high ground thing. And then also just, what was the child's name that grew up to be the weird man?
Oh, yeah. He goes by like, it's Harlan.
Harlan, yeah.
Yeah.
Just like her weird, like, we gotta kill Harlan. It's like, what? Why?
Yeah, no, exactly. It's like, why? That's not going to change anything. You literally know how this works. You've been time traveling now for 3 seasons. Yeah,
like, what? And also, it wasn't on purpose. And, I don't know.
Yeah, that, like I said, that was something that was kind of like, to me, I was like, what? This makes no sense. And then, like, at the end, when she gets her child back and Ray. And I was like, well, what about her previous husband, who it's heavily implied she mind controlled? I was just like, what is going on?
Maybe the no. You know what? I'm gonna keep that to myself. Never mind.
Well, like I said, there was just so many weird things, and like, you know, the thing with Luther and her, and like all this stuff, and I was like, what are they doing here?
They're making the only black character fundamentally unlikable.
Right.
For a reason.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, I mean, it was just her stuff. The entire season was obviously very important, but also just really weird. But
yeah, it's incredibly weird.
I did like. There's two things I did like. I liked Lila a lot, and I liked her and Five when they go on their little adventure.
Yeah, I really.
That's always fun.
Too. She's an interesting character.
Yeah, and then her and Diego, of course, because she's just kind of messing with him a little bit. But one of my favorite interactions was when he's like, he says something like, you know, oh, like you're lying about it. This is like, you're crazy. And she's like, you met me in an insane asylum.
It was good.
Yeah. So I don't know. I like that, and how you know, the reveal that Stan wasn't actually his kid. And I thought that was a funny angle.
I felt like they. Fuck, I can't remember anybody's name. The guy that talks to the dead?
Klaus,
thank you. He's like the internet's favorite character, and I felt like they gave him very little to do in this movie, but maybe it's because he didn't have Ghost Ben.
Yeah, his interaction with Ghost Ben was always a lot of fun.
Yeah. I thought season 2 was the highlight of the show so far.
Trying to remember what happened in season 2. That's when they go back to Dallas, right?
Yeah, they go back to Dallas, and like he's got the cult, and he's using like Ben to like make it look like he's got magic powers, basically.
Yeah.
And then he's trying to go after his lover that ends up dying in the war.
Yes.
Yeah. He just had very little to do this season. He kind of waffles around.
Well, and again, because it goes back to the nature of like you have 14 characters suddenly, and you know, they're still trying to make some kind of overact. Because you know, you always suspected that Hargraves, their dad, had some kind of idea or plan, but it was like not this, that they have a tunnel to another universe or to another dimension.
Weird and stupid.
Yeah, because
in the comics, it's a prison full of the like universe's worst bad guys.
Yeah, that's always a classic.
Yeah, that sounds more interesting than a weird hotel with samurai ghosts.
And a reset button for the universe.
And a reset button, yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. Dan, I'm sorry. I was just so indifferent to the show.
No, that's fair enough. But here's a couple other things I'll point out that I liked then. I liked when Five turned out to be the creator of the agency. I kind of saw that coming, but I thought that was funny because, and even Lila, when she's laughing about it to him, was great.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and this goes back to something that, again, with the Allison, because she makes the deal with their dad. She's like, okay, well, I'll help, and then we'll get him to do your crazy mission. And then at the end, he's like pressing all the buttons and sucking up the power of the rest of the Umbrella Academy and Sparrows. And then she like kills him, but then still hits the button with like this big dramatic, like, oh, you got to trust me or whatever. And I was like, but you're still hitting the button. Like he was about to hit the button, then you killed him. So you still hit it. So what? But then I just read this before we started recording because it was an interview with Blackman. And he was like, he said something about how she killed him before he could finish doing what he was planning to do with like the console. And I was like, I never got any indication that he wasn't finished. Like, yeah.
Also, like, why should the audience trust Allison at that point? Like, I know she's asking because, like, you know, she's gonna get what she wants. He was setting that up for her.
Yeah.
So what does she care if they die?
No, exactly.
Like, I don't know. That was a bit weird.
It was a bit weird.
Else? I felt like, okay, Luther, I don't know if it's been the whole show or if it's just this particular season, but he's just, like, he feels, not his powers, but him specifically feels so out of place. And I don't know if I'm just being mean to the actor, but he looks like he belongs in a Hallmark movie, not in the Umbrella Academy. And he kind of acts that way too, especially with like Sloane, right? Like,
yeah,
he looks like he's just waiting for a meet cute. I don't know. Like he doesn't have the same grit that the other characters do.
Yeah, and I always interpreted that it was like because of his strength, he's lower on the intelligence like scale, let's say, and that was kind of what was fun with the Sparrow Academy, that with their number one, and then eventually with Ben, that was like they have to lead by their smarts, not just being like the strong one. Yeah,
but I mean, like he feels out of place to me. Like he seems like he should be like, okay, he seems like his high school sweetheart left for the big city, so he became a lumberjack who makes his own furniture and sells them in the small town he grew up in. He's actually way more successful than he lets on. And then when his high school sweetheart comes back and she's kind of a bitch because she's been working at a corporation of makeup or something, and then they fall back in love after a lot of misunderstandings and forced close proximity. That's what he feels like to me.
Nice.
Yeah. And then she realizes that love's more important than makeup.
Sure. I don't know, maybe, and again, this could be because, like, I think I was mentioning as well, like, if you see like a picture from comic version to this, of course, he's like, he is like an ape man, right?
Yeah, he's more monkey than man in the comic.
Exactly, right? So it's just something, he's just got the bulked up muscle suit going on.
Yeah, but that's just like, that's what his face looks like to me. And I can't see him as anything else. And I haven't seen him in that role. It's not like I watched, like Hardwood or whatever it would be called. Hardwood, Soft Heart.
Yeah, there you go. Well, then it would be the opposite. It would be Softwood, Hard Heart.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Okay. That's a better title. I just like saying hardwood. But you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. That's just what his face says to me. Like, everybody else feels like they belong in this season, and he looks like he is looking for a coffee shop to bump into his future wife at.
Well, and I mean, because that was his arc, essentially, was just him in love with Sloane, and like,
yeah,
everyone else is being like, dude, there's some kind of weird universe-ending plot, and he's like, you know what? Let's have a wedding.
Yeah, I know, but I don't know.
It was like I said, it was interesting. It was still good. I still enjoyed the watch. I just felt like I thought particularly at the end that I was like, oh, perfect. This is like the wrap up because none of them have their powers. Allison was living with her kid and Ray, and I was like, that's like a perfect end because their powers were what was causing the world to be screwed up all the time, right?
Totally. Yeah, I thought that would have been, that seems like a good reason to end it. How did they, it never explains where the pregnant ladies come from, right?
No, it still is an unexplained event that just happens.
I wish I could care.
Well, and at least in this season, they did answer one of my questions, like I was talking about in the first two seasons, before Lila's introduction, especially, was that I was like, what about other kids that were born that he didn't get? Because it specifically tells us in the opening prologue that it's like he managed to buy 7 of these kids, but that means he approached others, and there were others. I was like, do they all have powers?
Yeah, I guess they did.
Well, and clearly some of them did, because Lila did, and then the rest of the Sparrows did. So it's like, that always seemed like such an easy avenue to set up an antagonist, that it was like, there's kids with powers, right?
Yeah.
But then, from what I've gathered as well, Reginald is like the villain in the next season, I guess, apparently.
And he's like a lizard man or something from space or some shit. Got his robot wife. And a tall tower. They should get Alex Garland to direct the next season.
Yes, but
he's on a break. Solution to everything now. Like, don't let Dan Brown write it and get Alex Garland in.
Sure.
If Dan Brown, oh my god. I would watch a Susan written by Dan Brown because I would like to watch them run around Europe to try to figure out who stole the cup from the Vatican.
And it would be all over 24 hours. Yeah.
Yeah, 24 hours. Done. They could do it like 24. It could be 24 episodes.
Well, I don't think they'd do that anymore because even they did the lost symbols and it was only like 10 episodes. I didn't end up watching. I thought about it, but I was like, maybe I should slow down.
Maybe you thought better of it because you're like, life is short. Why should I spend it on Dan Brown properties? I'm so bitter now. Just grrr.
There's hits and misses, but you did watch the whole thing. I did watch the whole thing, and I am curious essentially what's going to happen. But it's kind of almost not I don't know, not morbid curiosity, I guess would be the word, but I'm definitely I'm curious as to how it would wrap it up.
I mean, I kind of liked season 1. I really liked season 2, and I didn't like season 3. So maybe that means I'll love season 4.
Yeah, maybe.
If that pattern continues. Or maybe I'll just think that life is meaningless and art isn't real. Who knows? One or the other. I'll just have to. You know what I'll have to do is I'll have to go watch Everything Everywhere All at Once again so that I can calm down about life being meaningless.
In the movie about life being meaningless.
Well, yeah, it's somehow reassuring.
Yeah. Well, that's because that's just that's Jobu Tabaki's angle.
That movie was so good.
Quite good. Quite good.
I don't know, dude.
It's all good. I mean, like I said, not everything has to be a masterpiece and a hit, but I like the aesthetic of the Hotel Obsidian, and
I did like the aesthetic as well.
Yeah, and it was just kind of fun, but it was just too bad because of probably again COVID stuff that it was the people that were there, they just all got blitzed immediately. So it was aside from the concierge, we didn't really get interaction with some of the people. What are they doing there? Are they some kind of time traveling weirdos?
Yeah, that'd be interesting to explore. I also, it could have been a cool angle because when the Umbrella Academy show up at the Sparrow Academy, they're all kind of dressed like villains.
Yeah.
All 7 of them, 6, 7, whatever, who cares?
6 and a few.
Yeah, they're the Umbrella Academy though. They're all dressed like villains. They're all dressed head to toe in black. Klaus has his weird hat on. They kind of look like the bad guys in that situation. If you were to just show somebody a picture who'd never seen it before, and the Sparrow Academy is kind of dressed like the good guys, and that would have been a cool angle. What if Umbrella Academy are the villains? Not on purpose, but by accident.
Yeah, well, and that was kind of the season 1 and 2 especially, how it was they're the accidental villains, right?
Yeah. But no, we still had the agency that was kind of the villains too.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I want to like stuff. I'm not going into things being oh, I'm so ready to hate this.
Yeah.
It's just they're not complying with my wishes.
Yeah, I also went in with pretty open mind. Not I mean, me, I didn't, see trailers or watch anything or even read anything beforehand. So I was kind of I just didn't know what they were going to do. And then especially, of course, with the actor change. And then I was oh my God, people are angry for no reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, because the show had many different, it was kind of interesting. There was, director, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different directors, many different writers over the entire season of the show. But it still doesn't feel. I guess maybe that's it too. You were talking about it earlier with your Men analogy, that it's just there's no singular writer director. So there's.
Yeah, maybe it feels like it doesn't have a soul or a unifying voice because it doesn't have those things.
Yeah.
There's no Alex Garland being this is the story that I want to tell and this is the way I want to tell it.
Blackman's Hand is involved in many of the writings episodes, but there's other duos and stuff like that. So of course, they're working off outlines and etc. But I think you're right that it's maybe that's something that's being discovered with these new formats, with these new shows. because it's still relatively younger, that it's like, yeah, maybe you need to just have like the first few seasons of Game of Thrones before it kind of went downhill, that it's just like it was two dudes, they were running it, and so they had the vision, right? Like, and so same kind of idea, that it's like if you're gonna have your two people running the show or your one person running it, that's a lot on their shoulders, but maybe then they'll have the better path. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, like, art's collaborative, like all movies and TV. This was something I really liked. I was listening to Robert Eggers, the guy who made The Northman, and he was talking, it was an interview with him, and he brought up something kind of interesting, that he was like, as the director on any project, he's like, you are one of the most inexperienced people on set. Because he's like, yeah, even if you're Spielberg or whoever, but it's like, yeah, you've made a lot of movies, but like that grip and that electrician and that lighting guy, they've made hundreds of movies, right?
Oh, yeah.
So it's like they know what they're talking about when they're talking about their profession, right? But it's like you are, so that's like, you have to give it, because that's what he was saying, that he's like, it's, all about give and take, where, the producer comes to him with an idea, he's got to at least be like, is this something I should take a stand on, or is he more correct? So he's like, there's a balance there. And that's unfortunately, the entertainment industry is an industry.
Oh, for sure. And I do know that like TV shows are collaborative, but I feel like there's a difference between what like Everything Everywhere All at Once, which had a huge cast and probably like a huge the people behind the camera crew. There's a difference between that and Umbrella Academy. That's like, I just feel like Umbrella Academy is being produced to have people keep their Netflix subscription.
Sure. I 100% agree.
Yeah. And I feel like stuff like Men or Everything Everywhere are being made because, or like, the Northman Lighthouse, that kind of thing, is being made because somebody wants to tell that story.
Yeah. Well, and I'm curious as well, now that we're kind of talking a bit about it, that it's like, how was this approached, where like Blackman, and you're writing, it's like you're doing your 10 episodes. It's like, do you write all 10 and then, do revisions as you go? Or are they writing like the first, like few and then they start shooting and then writing them at the same time? Like, I'm curious about that.
I would think that you would have to, like, because it's based on another property, like it's based on the comic books, I think you'd have to start at the end and work backwards, right?
I just mean, like, before they started shooting, did they write all 10 episodes?
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's also right. I don't know either.
They must, I'm trying to, when did Elliot Page come out as trans? Do you remember?
I do not know. Sorry.
It must have been before they had written the show, though. Or before they shot it, at least.
Yeah, before they shot, at least. But maybe while they were doing production on it.
Or I guess it could have been at any point. No, because they call him Victor. Never mind. Unless they did a bunch of reshoots. I don't know how they did it.
Yeah, like I said, I'm just curious about that. Because then maybe, like you said, then there could be... Who determines that it was going to be 10? Because maybe, like I was saying, maybe it could have been 8 and it would have been tighter.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But like you said, it was like, no, Netflix is like, we want our 10.
Yeah. We need at least 10 hours of watch time out of this percentage of people.
Exactly.
I think that's what it comes down to.
It's interesting, again, because like a show like this, comparatively to what was recently released, and I'm halfway through, is The Sandman. And like, they've talked about how expensive it was and everything. And it is, like, you can see money on screen there. And because of that, like, it doesn't fit, like you're saying, like their model where they're like, oh, this is kind of expensive to make, versus this was a little more low key. There's some effects and et cetera in it, but.
You're watching Sandman right now, right?
Yeah.
I haven't started it yet, but God, a lot of like people hate it.
Really?
Yeah. Like a lot of the things I've been reading makes it sound like it should have been released in like 2013. They're like, it's just Tumblr bait, blah, blah, blah. I don't know why I read anything online, because it just makes me upset every single time. And it just, it always makes me mad. I need to stay on the internet, Dan.
Sure. Or like I was just saying, and like you said as well, there were some cool effects. Like the Kugelblitz looked cool. Klaus killing himself a bunch. That was kind of funny. Mainly because it's like if he's just throwing himself in front of traffic, I'm pretty sure after the first or second time there'd be cops there.
Yeah. I mean, like, that was a fun scene, but it also did feel like no one's calling, like, what about the aftermath of being hit by a car?
Exactly. Like he gets hit by a bus and it's just like there'd be a big like body skid and then they just kept driving. I'm pretty sure they would stop.
Yeah.
That was kind of funny. That like that evolution where it was just like that reveal of how he gets shot by the spear gun and then it's just like, you know, the kid's freaking out and then he comes back to life. I like that.
Yeah, that was good.
Talking about Blackman real quick, I was just reading he apparently has kind of a production deal with Netflix right now and he's making a space thriller called Orbital.
Fun.
And then he's also working on the adaptation for Horizon Zero Dawn, the video game.
Oh, cool.
Again, if they're like worried about the effects budgets, like that game's about robot dinosaurs. Like,
nice.
They're not going to be cheap to make. But yeah, basically my final thoughts is that if you enjoyed season 1 and 2 and you kind of still feel like sticking with these characters, I would say for sure watch season 3 and we'll wait for season 4 and see what happens at the end. What about your final thoughts there, Devin?
I mean, I don't think that my feelings on the show are indicative of most people's feelings on the show. So I agree that if you enjoyed the first 2 seasons and you want more Umbrella Academy, that you should watch season 3. But I also feel like devoid of anything. And it made me feel hollow and numb. And not in the good way that weed does. Like I said, if Umbrella Academy means something to you, if you relate to the characters, if it's helped you through a hard time, that's all valid and good. You are not incorrect because, you know, people are allowed to have different thoughts. I just personally felt like God is dead. They should really get me to write the critics
the pull quotes.
Yeah, you know, on the poster, right?
Yeah.
Brilliant, fantastic. God is dead.
To piggyback a little on what you're saying, like I was talking about earlier too with the Disney content, and there's so many projects that you're just like, eventually, you know, there's gonna be some watered down stuff, and you're just like, I don't even know anymore. What's going on?
Although I will admit, speaking of Disney, I am looking forward to the Secret Invasion. I think that's what it's called. I don't know. I saw a trailer. It's like Nick Fury centered. Olivia Colman is in it, and that makes me very happy because I like her as an actress.
Nice. Yeah, I know. Like as we're recording, it's like the D3 or D23 con or whatever, and I haven't looked at any of that and those announcements because you know me, I don't care. You know, and they're all like, "Oh, look at that, like Andor," and I'm like, I don't care. But anyway.
Nice.
Yeah. That's how I stay sane in our current media landscape. I don't care.
I don't care. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
I was scrolling through Disney Plus, and there's a show that I'd never heard of starring Tony Hale called the Mysterious Benedict Society or something like that. And it looks like orphans being smart and clever and doing weird things, like kind of vein of series of unfortunate events.
Yeah.
So season 1's out and season 2's coming out, and I might give that a try because you know that I like children acting like adults and adults acting like children, and that's what this show looks like. Oh, Christian Shaw's in it too.
Oh yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Actually, it was funny because when I was looking up to watch Sandman, I didn't realize, and because I know this it almost seemed like it came and went like off the blip on the radar, was Lock and Key was the whole show.
Yeah.
Based on the comics by Joe Hill, right? So
I've read the first volume of the graphic novel of Lock and Key.
Yeah.
It's like dark, like Sandman's dark.
Yes.
But this show looks like a whimsical children's adventure.
Well, and that's been kind of I read I think almost all of Lock and Key, and it gets weird. And of course Sandman is like I was talking with a coworker that I was like, I more started watching Sandman almost out of curiosity because I was like, how can you make a show out of this? Because I read in your article, maybe we'll save this for our Sandman episode, but it was like Neil Gaiman talked, he had to change stuff, of course, to put it on TV. And I was like, yeah, Sandman is like not a hero story. Like everyone sucks. That's the point.
Yeah, like thinking about just like volume 1, the scene in the diner.
Yeah.
Like, how are you going to make that into a TV show?
Well, you'll find out.
I guess I will. I guess I have to watch that. I really wanted to watch it 6 months ago. I wish it came out 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Because now I have no energy to watch it.
Well, and I think you and myself a little bit, I know I'm a little tainted by the BBC radio production.
Oh, that's so good, right?
Because it was really good. And so, like, some of the stuff that's kind of going on, I'm like visualizing different things or picture, just because we've had a recent, we hear their voices versus now it's on screen, right? So anyway, it's a whole thing.
Can you tell me one thing about Sandman, though?
Okay.
Does Neil Gaiman show up in it?
So far, no.
Okay.
I'm surprised.
I'm curious if he will, because he's like the narrator in the audiobook, right?
Yes, and my thinking is that more like the protagonist, whoever plays the protagonist, I haven't looked it up, whoever plays the titular Sandman, he is very much modeled his speech patterns off of Neil Gaiman and James McAvoy's performances. Because his cadence is very similar.
Interesting.
Yeah, it is very interesting.
Yeah, the things I've been reading is this like people saying that the star fits in better in like 2010 because he's kind of got like that David Tennant, Benedict Cumberbatch, British pale guy with high cheekbones and dark hair thing going on. Yeah,
I mean, because that's what Morpheus looks like.
That's what Sandman is, but yeah. It's funny.
No, it is weird because on certain angles his face looks like kind of more narrower, but then like more straight on, it looks like very square.
Oh, weird.
It is kind of odd. Yeah, it's like an odd. It's an odd thing where, and like from a certain angles, I'm just like, oh, his face is too square, and then other angles, I'm like, oh yeah, he looks, pretty spot on here. Do
you like the gender swap for Constantine?
Oh yeah, I was fine with that. I figured it was more like not even, because it's hard because Warner Brothers, of course, owns it all, but they have licensed some characters to like, CWB and other stuff that they probably don't own. So I just figured they couldn't even use John Constantine as a character anyway.
Oh, perhaps. Yeah, that's a good point.
Because he's been involved in other shows. So I was just like, when she's like, oh, it's Joanna Constantine, I was like, sure. It still serves the same function.
Yeah, fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've noticed that people aren't too mad that Satan's played by Gwendolyn Christie, but some people are mad that Constantine is played by Jenna Coleman. Is that her name?
Yeah.
Yeah. But whatever, I don't care. I'm gonna watch it. Great.
All the content must be created, and then people like us have to comment on that content.
We must consume all content and then make more content.
Basically.
Forever.
Yeah.
Or what the content is, it just must be created.
It must be created and then critiqued and commented on. Hey,
and these people need to critique our criticism. I know we've gone way off topic from Umbrella Academy, but I think my phone thinks I'm alt-right.
That's awesome.
Everything it suggests to me, it's either like weird pickup artist stuff that's like geared towards like men, or it's like, hey, have you seen this thing that Jordan Peterson said? And I'm, why? The fuck? Leave me alone. Yeah, it's all these like you know what? Yeah, I think that maybe like my weird, I don't know, like every article it suggests is like, people don't like trans folks. Join the Nazi party. And I'm like, what?
Not even subtle about it.
Yeah, I keep screaming at it. I'm like, that's not for me, bro. And then it keeps, I don't know what to do. I need a new phone.
So you just need to disable those notifications.
I try. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm too dumb. I'm too dumb to have a phone. I miss it time before the internet.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going on so many. This is going to be the most rambling episode we've ever done. But I do feel like, like when the civil rights movement happened, off to a good start.
Yeah.
The internet didn't exist. So, like, people had time to digest the information that they were given.
Yeah.
And I feel like with the internet, people don't have any time to digest big ideas. So everything is just gut reaction, surface level reaction to things without like thinking about it.
It's funny because I was going to talk to you about this tomorrow, but I'm reading a book currently, and that's one of the guy's main points is that essentially when the internet was first created, especially before, like when everything was on dial-up, and so people would like read stuff and then you'd have to digest it, and then like you'd have time before you, because it was on like message boards essentially. There was no live reaction. So it was like you had to reconnect, then type out your thought. So it was like you actually had to think about what you were going to say.
Yeah. And now
whereas now is not the case.
Now you can just be Kanye West and publicly give death threats to other celebrities.
Yeah.
And then people can be like, yeah, bro, good job. Or whatever.
Retweet.
I just this world that we live in, I think I'm having a breakdown. We should put a content warning. Content warning. Devin loses her mind. Umbrella Academy disturbed me so much that I can't even talk about it.
That's a good like the clickbait headline.
Yes. I promise it. Like honestly though, if you're still listening and you haven't turned it off because I'm insane, then I promise that the next episode, whatever it is, I'm going to actually talk about the thing we're talking about.
Well, like I said, this is kind of it was my fault because it took me a while to watch it, but then our schedules both went like crazy out of whack, so we just haven't recorded in a while. So hopefully the next time we'll be able to sync up a little closer. But I still wanted to record about this topic mainly because I had a few things I wanted to say, and I was curious about some of the stuff you thought because I didn't realize some of your thoughts on it. And so, yeah, I still wanted to talk about this before moving on to Sandman or Rings of Power or other shows. So, yeah.
Or She-Hulk. Are you going to watch She-Hulk?
It's on the list. Like, I'm going to finish Sandman first.
That's fair.
Before I get into this other stuff, because they don't do week to week yet. Netflix has announced that they'll probably switch to that. So,
oh, good.
Yeah, it's currently all up. So good. Well, with Stranger Things, I think didn't they do a gap though? That's because they still have to finish the effects. I think there was like a gap between the first half and the second half, but I think they just announced they're going to try week to week on some shows because they pioneered, of course, the dump and binge method. But I think like other platforms like Amazon and Disney are realizing the week to week keeps people hooked on longer because when your show crosses over like people's billing periods, well, you're like, well, I got to stay on to watch the next episodes.
Totally. Yeah. Especially if you don't want things to be spoiled because I didn't talk about it, but I'd watched All Stars 7 of a Drag Race.
Yep.
And, that was a week to week show. There were fucking news articles from like whatever news organizations that I was getting notifications for because I don't know how to use my alt-right phone anymore. And they would be like it would pop up and it would be like, oh, isn't that sad that so-and-so didn't win this week? And I'm like, it would be like 7 a.m. Release. Like, what the fuck, guys?
I haven't even had a chance to watch it.
I'm not even awake yet. Yeah. Still in bed. Maybe I need to go take a nap or something.
Well, or like you said, you just need a palate cleanser with a show you're enjoying, which it sounds like She-Hulk you are enjoying. So, it's good. It's
really fun because it's very low stakes. I won't spoil anything else, but it's just a fun show. And I think it's a nice break from like end of the world shit,
Cool. That's it for today's episode.
this probably wasn't your favorite episode, but we would still appreciate it you sharing it with your friends and downloading stuff. And also go to our website, tomeofuselessness.com, and check out all of our old episodes. If you want to follow us, we're on Instagram at Tome of Uselessness, and you can email us if you have any questions, concerns, comments, suggestions, compliments, if you want to write us a haiku.
tomeofuselessness@gmail.com.
Thank you. And that's it. Goodbye.
Yes, stay safe and thanks for listening.